loves. Okay, I'm looking a little tired, but literally we just got back yesterday. Actually, not too late last night from our Veterans weekend. We actually went to Utah because we had two family members, one our son and one a grandma who usually like to spend their birthday together. So we ended up going to visit Utah. We visited with friends, family, and some old sites that I haven't seen in a year, almost a year, Thanksgiving. And while I was there, aside from getting some really fabulous family time, I was able to pick up. Actually, I wasn't even intending on looking for these. I was not even only slightly aware of one of them and was kind of like lightly looking for the other. But I had been waiting for my I think it's called Spirit Song Tarot, and then I canceled it because Amazon said it was coming, and I had a pre-order, and then they're saying we don't know what it's going to be in, and then it was out of stock, and then not sure if it's coming, and so I just canceled the order because I thought, well, now that I know for sure I'm going to Utah, I can probably pick it up at her store. And then I was looking at some sample art, and I had kind of forgotten what was the main purpose or idea behind the creation of that deck. And I thought, well, maybe I'm just not going to get that now because something about how the art is makes me feel like I may not read it the way I would like, although I really think it's still a beautiful, gorgeous deck. I had seen quite a bit of the artwork on Polina's website. So instead, after looking, usually happens when I go to my friend Elemental Inspirations, my friend Lee's store, is we tend to really go through like the newest or what kind of style she knows I really like, or if she just wants to share with me what's kind of new and kind of interesting. And like we talk about the pros and cons, and we really get into it. It's like a awesome gab session between card slingers. So it's awesome. If we ever did a video together, people would be rolling because it's usually hilarious as frick. So here's the two decks I ended up picking out of the probably 10, oh my god, I don't even know, maybe 40 decks I looked at, so about 20 each, I would say average, maybe give or take, of Oracles and Tarot. Now I picked this one because it had a mixture of all the gothic-y type stuff I was being drawn to. This is the dark time of the year. I have a few darker decks, like some of my Lucy Cavendish are a really good blend of shadow and light and, you know, those kind of darker themes without being too dark. And then I have a Dreams of Gaia and like the Beautiful Creatures that are all kind of darkish, but, you know, Dreams of Gaia I think is just dark in general because she uses such bright other artwork, and so she gave it a nice dark background, not because it's actually a dark deck. All right, in my opinion, it isn't. But I do love a good gothic-y feel. I love like my Fairy Tale Oracle and my Lucy Cavendish decks. All of them tend to have a bit of a darkling aspect, okay? Not full goth necessarily, but a bit of shadow and light, a bit of the, you know, a mix of the negative and positive, but they are very pagan. Now, this one I feel is very good for, and I know there's a few out there. This is a healing work deck. This is actually, I think, a co-worker to work with kind of different modalities. But one thing I had heard off and on, and my friend Lee brought up, is that this can be a very direct deck about what you're going through in the present. And I like that because a lot of divination systems can have that, but they're more about trying to read into the future or more about their theme or whatever else. Now, I know there's a few of them out there. The box is a nice hard magnetized box, which I have been wanting to get a few more of those. The inside is gorgeous and lovely with the kind of, reminds me a little bit of filigree or just a really cool, beautiful inside look that gives it a nice continuation. The book has color pictures. It's not just black and white on the inside. The fonts are colored. There's a lot of awesome glossy artwork and texture going on. And there's a meaning section, a phrase, and then an action section. So these are all really cool. And it's not very meaty, but if you'd like to see what the artist looks like, they have about the author page with a nice big photo of the author. And after the acknowledgments page, there is a nice paragraph for each of the artists involved in the actual physical creation of the deck. So these are the Spanish digital artist and another digital illustrator that helped with making Gameit Comic and publishing. Yeah, they have their own fields that they work in. And so this deck had a really neat mix of everything that I was being drawn to in all the other tarot decks that I was kind of looking at. The gothic kind of dark look and the fantasy kind of the steampunk stuff. There's a little bit of all that in here. It has that shadowy light aspect, and it's multicultural, a little multicultural, and it has a very light, nice mixture of a little bit of Christianity with some tribal stuff and the steampunk thing. It talks about, I have these out of order, so I'm just going to show you them real quick. Again, this has a similar tone and look, and the back of the book has the same as the box, and the box is actually, the front cover of the box is the same as the front cover of the book, and the back of the book is the inside flap of the box. And I thought that was cool, having that mimicking. And I do want to say that there is a table of context, and that I do love that it's colored, that they're doing color pictures throughout the whole book. So aside from that, this is a similar style shape, but it is not the same as the inner. It's a bit different. It has some symbology going on there in the inner workings of the swirls and stuff. And yeah, I in first glance I didn't notice it as much, and then when I started looking through it, I started saying, but then I thought, actually this is good, because my other ones that have kind of the shadow and light feel are very pagan based, and now I'll have one that's kind of a little bit more neutral, a little multicultural, and has a little bit of the Christian stuff, but I don't feel overpowered by it, and it's not all the way through the deck. This is only 36 cards, so I think they did a really good job. Okay, so I'm just going to flip through and point out certain aspects of the art that I really like. Now, I like that she is kind of a faded figure there, with her head more solid, and that the focus of the card, even with her there, is that big circular wheel behind her. Maybe even a compass. I think it's really cool. Cycles. All right. Here is, let's see, I need to be on this side. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so self-sabotage. And there, again, there's just so many cool little details in the art. I definitely see where they're going with the little labels, but I sometimes feel like there's so many other things going on that I would get a lot of other readings with an intuitive read, and not just based off of the intent of the book. There's some lighter cards in here, like patience and this lighter atmosphere, and then we have varying shades, and this one called How Teachable Are You, with a violin in the corner. She's looking down at it. And I question if this is actually not just how teachable, but are you even willing to be teach? Is what they're presenting that they would like you to learn something you're even willing to put the effort in? So how teachable are you in the situation you're being presented or being encouraged to pursue? And that's just one area that came to my head. And then here's one of the family and tribe. And this I found interesting when I read in the book. It's talking not just about, like, say, who is your tribe or family, but how does your tribe or family influence you with the traditions and maybe lessons within the family life? How is it affecting your current decisions? Have they been good lessons, or are they kind of part of us? Are they sabotaging your efforts to move forward as an adult, or maybe get past certain things that are holding you back, that kind of thing? So I thought that was pretty interesting. But then I also felt like, okay, family and tribe could be protective, especially having that tiger there, like almost not a watchdog, but a protector, or maybe in a totem of your family, and an animal energy that could be worked with, something along those lines. So those thoughts ran through my head when I saw the that card. And I really love that there's a nice blend of male and female energy both together. And just that there is more of it, because sometimes my decks tend to be a lot female dominant, and I do like that there's more male energy in this deck than some of my others. Again, here's the cross. I don't mind it so much. Have faith. It could be any faith, but they're, giving an example of one type. And here's a Celtic cross and a graveyard in the background. Letting go. Perhaps somebody had passed, and allowing your feelings to feel what they need to as you let go. Yeah, I really thought, oh, it's not just a graveyard. Those are people in robes. And with statuary and stuff. That's just part of the confusion. Isn't that cool? I really just like how shadowy, and you really need to take time and look at the art, because there's just so much going on, and I love that. I love really being drawn into the art and bringing the story out. I think this is adorable. It's a cat mask. Take off your masks. Probably feeling a pressure to be a certain way, act a certain way, do things a certain way. But what way would make you happy? What way would show your true creativity? What is honestly you? And this one, heal, help from above. Now, in one of my other decks, I noticed that they said help was coming, and they had like a moon in the background and stuff like that, and it seemed to be carrying over a similar message. But I kind of like that, because then it keeps certain symbolism and connections in my head, and in my intuition. And I just love how they painted and did the water in the background. There's so much motion and stuff going on. It's really cool. Here is temptation, and I love this like shadowy spirit, male spirit, just coming forth. There's just so many cool things going on there. It's a very beautiful deck. One of the few takeaways I would take with this deck is, and it is only 36 cards, but everybody's so young and in prime of life. There isn't a lot of variety in age, but there is some variety in race and culture, so that's cool. Inner child, and this female, it's talking about inner child in the sense of allowing your inner child to help guide you. The advice connected to that card even says, allow your inner child, the younger you, to speak to your adult you and direct you or give you advice or say how they would feel about it. And you can talk to your younger child or inner child about the situation. This is sexuality. And I think it's almost like a self-acceptance, not being afraid of your sexuality, that kind of thing, and acknowledging your sexual power, that kind of thing. Here's alchemy. I really like that. I think that's cool. Got some stuff with crystals, fire, the essences floating around. There's a lot of cool things going on with that one. I like that. So that, like I said, it has a really cool mix of like modern, old world, that gothic romanticism, and yet a lot of pulling of emotions. This is like during the Black Plague, and they wore the masks to try to protect themselves as they tried to help those who are being afflicted or suspected of being afflicted. Entrapment, trying to keep oneself from being entrapped or being the enchantress. Home, I really like this one. There's a letter, a pendant of some sort. She's really focused on what's happening in front of her. Here's self-love. This is one of the lighter cards in the deck. Maybe you need more self-love. Maybe you're doing good at acknowledging that or felt it before. Rejection. Oh yeah. It's interesting that in this one over here, there is a bauble hanging from her hand, and this one over here, similar bauble is hanging from the hand. And there is the painting, and the painting has similar clothing and people in them. Some cool details to work with there. Another tiger. Beautiful tiger with a, I want to say in this one it reminds me more of fairy energy or fae energy, whereas the other one reminded me, one of them had wings, it was more angelic or fallen angel type of feel. Here's sadness. Lovely cards, just really darkling gothic kind of shadow and light things going on. Healing, and she's holding like an energy ball in her hands. And healing isn't always feel good. Sometimes healing is painful, and I really think that comes through really well. Sexual arts. I love the volcano aspect coming up here. I haven't read the page yet that is connected to the card, but 33s are one of my favorite numbers, so I'm definitely going to be reading that soon. So I'm sure there's going to be some interesting action and info there. Pay attention to signs. Oh, I am always saying that. I really love the owl in the picture, and if you look, it has some of those cool little spirit faces hovering around the lantern, possibly offering guidance or direction. And there is cool little dark eyes and other details all around this picture. When you can see it and take the time to look, there's just so much going on there. I love that. All right. And there's so much more. So really awesome with the shadow and light aspects, the little gothic feel. I love the cat, and so much detail on this one as well. This one, I have a friend who loves this kind of statuary and look of things. And this one's Hole in the Soul. I love some of the titles too. Hole in the Soul. That's a vampire girl here. It's very not the easiest thing to see, but mostly because mine. Yeah, she's got little vampiric teeth pointing down. And then, oh, this is one of my favorite cards. And I did read the page of this, and it's just so thoughtful, very good direction, and really makes you think about. I can see how it would be a direct meaning. And the symbolism is a little Christian, but it's half not. I mean, the thorns on the head, and then the skull and half woman. It reminds some people of the goddess Hel of the Norse pantheon. And I think there's also another goddess that had some kind of similar half youthful, half, death look to her. Another one of those cards with the male and female, but I really feel like the male is more part of the stronger focus in this, and I don't mind that at all. I like that because, again, so often oracle cards are very feminine. But I haven't really been very drawn to some of the Greek males and adventures deck or whatever it was called. Phoenix Rising, I love Phoenix cards. This one's pretty cool. It's almost like spell work coming out of the book. And that's why I said it has a really cool. This is the picture that's on the cover art. So it's beauty. And there's peacock feathers, but there's also a snake, an awesome snake coming from the corner of the card, which I think is so cool. And the art pieces are lovely. I love the pocket watch as well. Compass or pocket watch, either one. I love those. And the steampunk. This is I love steampunk. So cool. Oracle of the Shapeshifters has some cool steampunk. There is an Asian style art. Say what you mean. And I love that it has a winter setting. And this one, oh, look at the detail. If you can see the creatures on this side and the dark faces and moaning and in mid-scream. I know this card says victim consciousness, but I really feel as if they're perhaps I can see the victim consciousness aspect that could be there. But to me, I feel almost as if perhaps she could be the perpetrator, or the strength gathered from instead of being fearful of these things, but over like embracing them and drawing them and understanding them to help rise above the victim consciousness. I just see some stuff going on there that I really like. And also, one of her hands is clawed, for one. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but she has long fingernails there. And then the other hand is more like a normal hand that's being kind of wrapped in this mystic snake and the mist that's there. So there's a lot going on with this number 12 card. Discover your life purpose. And again, one of those cards where there's like ghosts in the mist, maybe being drawn by the beautiful music or longing for the living. I don't know. There's just so much cool stuff going on. Another one of the painting dude in the home. Such cool stuff. And this one, the wild card, I get it. I can see this is like a free-spirited young woman out in the wild, bearing herself to the elements. Not that she's naked, but like really putting herself out there and pushing into a wild situation and testing her boundaries and exploring all that stuff. I get it. But I also felt like she was a bit frail looking. Maybe she's stronger than she looks. I don't know. But I do love the dragon head boat, and I almost felt as if maybe a different kind of human should have been or mixed with that dragon boat. But, you know, it's still beautiful and very moving, and I can see some of what they were trying to say there. I just felt like this was probably the only card for me that I wish there had been something slightly different. But I still think it's a beautiful card as is. And yeah, I'll let it go at that. So this was the Heal Yourself reading cards, and I really think it's well done. It isn't gilded, which I think it would have been awesome gilded. But since it's not gilded, that means we get to choose what we want to edge it with if you like edging. And I've shuffled this deck, and it is pretty easy to shuffle. It's a really good size for me, since I'm used to such wide cards and stuff. 36 cards is a really nice thickness and amount of cards to work with, and I'm really excited to see how well this works for me. I've only done a couple readings so far, and they seemed pretty deep and definitely reflecting some things that I needed to look a little bit deeper to. And I like how easy it is to close and shut, and it feels pretty secure. You do have to put a little muscle into flipping it open, but not much. It's not hard to open at all. But I will say that I do not plan on leaving the insert piece that's in here, because I find it actually makes some of the cards at the base hard to pull out. And I've been a little concerned that it might damage the cards in the long run. So I'm planning on taking that out and just having them either loose in the box with the book, or like I do with some of my Blue Angel Publishing decks, because they never get hurt that way. But I can see what they were going for, trying to keep them so they weren't shifting all the time, which makes sense. But like I said, beautifully done. Again, this is the Heal Yourself reading cards by Inna Segal. And I really think this is going to read intuitively very well. And I love, it was kind of a mixture of everything I was kind of looking for, in the sense of a bit gothic, shadowy, and yet inclusive for many different cultural types, and not quite as pagan depth. I mean, it's pagan friendly, but it does have some Christian and other symbolism mixed in, and I like that. So I'm going to end it there. And I hope you liked this. Let me know if you did or didn't, or if you have some views or questions about the deck, please feel free to add it to the comments. And yeah, I am really pleased to get this deck. It was a delight and a surprise to find. All right, hugs to you, Lee, if you watch the video, and I will leave a link to her, or so you can find her address and stuff in the info section below. Okay, see y'all. Have a great week.